Okay, so I'm presenting on Punnet squares and X-linked inheritance. So what a Punnet square is it is a square diagram to figure out genotypes and phenotypes for a particular crossbreeding or experiment. A genotype consists of specific alleles for a specific trait, and phenotype is how those traits are expressed. So they turn out to be hair color, eye color, temperament, things like that. How it works. So the alleles and genotypes for one parent are expressed at the top of the graph, and the genotypes and alleles for the other parent are expressed along the side, as you can see here. So a dominant trait here is expressed as an uppercase X, and a recessive trait is expressed as a lowercase. So two uppercase letters are going to represent a dominant trait being expressed. A uppercase and a lowercase together means that the dominant trait is expressed, but they are a carrier for that recessive trait. And two lowercases means that the recessive trait is being expressed. So here I'm just showing that two uppercase H's are going to be my dominant trait for brown hair, and two lowercase H's are going to be dominant for, recessive for blonde. And an uppercase H and a lowercase h means that the brown hair is being expressed, but they are a carrier for that blonde hair. And the same idea for brown hair and blue eyes. So brown eyes are expressed as BB, and blue eyes are expressed as lowercase bb. And of course, the brown dominant and blue recessive are expressed as uppercase B and lowercase b. Okay, so for this, both parents are heterozygous dominant for brown eyes, or I'm sorry, for okay, so both parents are heterozygous. So that means they have one dominant and one recessive gene for brown hair. So they're dominant for brown hair and recessive for blonde hair. The mother is homozygous, which means she has two of the same alleles for recessive blue eyes. The father is heterozygous for dominant brown, recessive blue eyes. And then just on the other side here, I have how each of those genes, genotypes and phenotypes are going to be expressed. So two uppercase H's, that means they have brown hair. Two uppercase B's, that means they have brown eyes. Further down here, two lowercase h's, that means they have blonde hair, and two lowercase b's, they have blue eyes. Just so you can see how each of those is expressed and how we figure it out. Okay, so given the graph, so to make this graph, what you do is you want to take one of the h's and you want to combine it with each of the b's. And then you do the same with the other h with each of the b's. This is how we figure out how often each gene is expressed with the other, even amongst the parents. So I have HB, HB, lowercase HB, HB. And we do the same with the father. So his is uppercase H, lowercase h, uppercase B, lowercase b. So you can see how we cross those. And then you just go along the graph. So you would put H from the mother, uppercase H from the father. You would put uppercase B and lowercase b. And you just go along like that, filling in the graph. Down each side and like down everywhere. So from the graph, we can tell that the brown to blonde ratio is about 4:1. So that gives you about an 80% chance of having brown hair and 20% chance of blonde hair. Our brown to blue eyes ratio is about 1:1. So that gives you about 50% chance for either brown eyes or blue eyes. And again, you just figure that out from the genotypes expressed. So two uppercase H's, you know that they're dominant for brown hair. And two lowercase h's, you know that they're recessive for blonde hair. And we're going to move on to X-linked inheritance. So X-linked inheritance means that the genes causing the trait or disorder are located only on that X chromosome. Females having two X chromosomes and males only have one X and one Y. So a female, because she has two X's, she can either be unaffected from the trait, so having no sign of that trait. She can have one of her X genes affected, which means she's a carrier for that trait. And if she has both of her X genes affected, then she has the trait. For a male, because they only have the one X gene, if that gene is affected, they have the trait. And if they don't have that gene, then they're unaffected. So that is shown here in my little graph. So here I will represent the affected gene. So here we see the mother who is a carrier for the gene and the father who is unaffected. So the father has no I attached to any of his X's, but the mother has an I attached to one of her X's. So she's a carrier for the gene. So using the Punnett square, we can figure out that potentially one of their daughters will be a carrier for the gene, and one of their sons will be affected by that trait. So again, just along the side here, I've written down how each of those genotypes can be expressed. So again, here we have 50% chance of having trait-free children. So we have an unaffected daughter and a possibly unaffected son here. And we have a 25% chance of having a carrier daughter and a 25% chance of having the trait-affected son. So that's how Punnett squares and X inheritance works.